Before I got to the Senate, I ran a company that was a distribution and logistics company, very kind of mundane until we discovered technology. Once it was kind of beaten into my head in terms of being way too expensive for the benefits, older of my two sons that now run the company with one of their sisters, I became a believer in it. And the benefits of it, amazing. How it gets, in our case, the train to show up in time, figuratively speaking, how much it costs, but the benefits have always been there. So anymore, I don't argue. I just say how much, and we do it. Of course, it's not my decision anymore. We still, though, today in touching base, have to fend off from across the world people trying to take your technology and for no real good reason, disrupt it, ruin it, ransom it, all that. I want to use that as kind of what we deal with before we heard much about AI. So I'd like to ask Mr. Krishnan and Dr. Hinman, your opinion, what the main worries would be when we take something as wholesome as agriculture and to see what we want to do with it. What would you see as being the biggest risks in your mind of how we apply AI to agriculture and not to have a maleficent end result in the process of doing it? We'll start over here.
It's a great question. I think, AI is just like any other technology or toolkit. It has pros and cons. It can definitely increase productivity, as you saw in your business, but also increase disparity between small producers or large producers, or people with access to those high-value algorithms and people that don't, people that have high sensor penetration and people that don't on farm. And so I think data has become this raw material for these algorithms to make them more valuable, more productive, and more profitable. And so I think a lot of what we've talked about today around data privacy, data ownership, cyber are very critical. I think the biggest thing, whether it's in AI or in ag tech, it's really trust and transparency, I think, are very important. And a lot of these are in the details and nuances. So I'd really encourage maybe an expert working group to really tackle the issues around data ownership, data privacy, and data protection.
Thank you, Mr. Hinman.
Yeah, I think it's relatively easy to get a machine learning model to be 80% accurate. It's much harder to get it to be 99, 95% accurate. And that the difference between those two is the difference in data. It's how much data you have, the quality of that data that's used to train the model. And so data is the currency of artificial intelligence. It is what powers it. It's what makes it go. So for an example, in the See and Spray application that we produce, where we're discriminating between weeds and healthy crops and spraying only the weeds, we created a data set that is an image catalog, effectively, of millions of images of weeds at all different growth stages and different light conditions across corn, soy, cotton, across southern part of the U.S. to the northern part of the U.S. So this data set is very, very valuable, right? It is what gives us the ability to discriminate a weed in the machine learning model across the geography of the United States in those three crop production systems. And if you think about the value of that data, one of the things that keeps me awake at night is the threat actors that you mentioned having access to it so that they can go create something very, very similar without putting the effort into collecting the information that was necessary to produce it.
Thank you. And Mr. Jansen, since you deal with the farmers in your practice and the industry itself, especially from the perspective of farmers, they need every tool they can get to nurse that extra dollar per acre out of a tough business. We talked about that a little bit earlier. What are they saying that they're looking forward to out of it, and what risks are they talking about that might be associated with it?
Yes, thank you, Senator Braun. I would say that what they really want to see is a return on investment. And they are always very reluctant, I think, to give over data to a lot of the companies that want to use it for whether it's a farm management system or training AI models. But if they know that they're going to get at least an equal amount of value back in return for giving that data over, then I think it's worth it to them. But, farming is their livelihood. And so that's why I think they have a reason to be skeptical of just turning over all this information about their livelihood to third parties unless there's that trust there.
I think that's a good point because, my feeling is that is the toughest small business in the whole spectrum of enterprise to run. Inherently low margin in an increasingly concentrated industry. So any leg up they can get, they need it. And ROI may be the best way to measure that. Thank you.